I just want to welcome everyone and thank you so much for joining us for this joint presentation with Augment, and we have ShopAdvisor with us, and we'll be talking about mobile innovation and contextual intelligence in retail. Before we get started, I want to let you know that we are recording this session and we will send it to you within 24 hours. And also, if you have any questions at all during the webinar, we want this to be interactive, so feel free to enter your questions in the webinar chat, and if we don't answer those during the session, we will get to those at the end because we're going to have some time for Q&A. So by way of introduction, my name is Angela Singer. I'm the Director of Product Marketing at Augment, and we're excited because we've teamed up with ShopAdvisor for this webinar, and we have Bill McLaughlin, who is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at ShopAdvisor. And I'm going to let him introduce himself and ShopAdvisor in a moment, but we're excited to team up with them because we have similar goals in helping brands and retailers create experiences that drive consumers' path to purchase and power personalized and really compelling shopping experiences. And you'll be hearing from us both about that today. And for those of you who may not be acquainted with Augment just yet, a quick overview: Augment is an augmented reality software solution where we help retailers and manufacturers display their products in 3D in augmented reality, and it brings a physical presence to online shopping. So we're a leading AR platform for product visualization, specifically in retail. And with Augment, consumers can see and visualize any product in real time and real size in their real world environment just with a smartphone or a tablet. And with that, Bill, can you just tell everyone a little bit about yourself and ShopAdvisor?
Well, thank you, Angela. First, I want to say thank you again for inviting us to present with you today, and we're very pleased to have this opportunity. So I run sales and marketing for ShopAdvisor. Essentially, we are a data services and analytics company, and we enable and measure drive-to-store mobile proximity marketing campaigns. So what does that mean? We work with digital agencies, brands, and retailers to help put together these marketing campaigns that will drive a consumer from their mobile phone or their tablet, or it could even be their desktop, to a physical retail location to purchase the product that they first engaged with on that digital device. We do it by providing data, and we're talking about product data, location data, shopper information that is all intelligently contextualized and delivered to that consumer on their device in a way that will power their interests and get them to take action and go into that store. So that's who ShopAdvisor is and what we're all about.
Great. Thank you, Bill. So now I just want to touch on the agenda so people have an idea of what we will be covering, and then Bill, I'll let you jump back in. So first, Bill is going to be talking about shopper trends. So where and how we're seeing consumers shopping. Then he'll talk about contextualized insights and how it leads to better customer engagement, and then product intelligence. So how can that improve marketing initiatives? And then I'm going to take over and dive into specifically visual context and the augmented reality landscape, what we're seeing in the space. You'll be able to see a video demo of augmented reality specifically for retail, and then we will wrap up with some questions and answers. So now I'm going to let you, Bill, talk about shopper trends.
Okay, fantastic. So please advance that. Yeah, thank you. That was where we need to be. So essentially, every day it seems like we're breaking new ground in how technology is changing the shopping experience. And specifically what we're going to be talking about is how mobile is making that happen. There's been a lot of stories that have been coming out recently about the retail apocalypse for brick and mortar. We see some closings that are going on for a lot of retailers that we know well. But the reality is retailers are still highly motivated to drive consumers into stores. And why is that the case? Well, the reason is that still anywhere from 80 to 90+% of all retail purchases still take place in a physical brick and mortar location. Furthermore, it is proven in research that when a shopper purchases products in the store, the basket size is typically at least 50% higher than when they buy products online, and there is basically virtually no kind of baskets left empty as you see often online. So it's really now the motivation is about how to integrate that shopping experience with the mobile device throughout the entire process, because you're finding that people are using it in the context of that entire the entire time that they first engage, all the way through their attendance in the in the shops, all the way to that final purchase. So these are some studies that are various percentages of how people are using these devices, and these come from various sources such as Harvard Business Review, Boston Retail Partners, and eMarketer. So we all know that this is a trend and that it's going to continue. So what does all that mean? So let's advance to the next slide and talk about this idea of contextualization. And today, we think what's happened is that for mobile proximity marketing, we've moved beyond the infrastructure issues related to beacons and geofencing. And quite frankly, we think that location is such an available piece of information that it's somewhat commoditized. So now we're driving down to other parts of the information equation that are really essential in making that drive to store campaign really work. And for ShopAdvisor, we focus on capturing and contextualizing this data so it provides a level of intelligence in the way that it interacts with the consumer. We start fundamentally with this idea of product intelligence. And product intelligence is not just the UPC code or description. Is it available in certain stores or in various regions? Are certain sizes, colors, or types available in those stores? When are they going to be delivered next, et cetera? That's layered in with what we call contextual intelligence, and that's all about understanding the dynamic of that product, where it resides, and where that shopper may be when they engage with that content. So think of things like time of season, time of day, a particular day of the week, what is the weather, what are the traffic patterns. Those are all things that come into play that affect a shopper and their motivations on whether or not they're going to make that move from their phone into the physical retail location. And then obviously the last piece that gets layered onto it is the specifics related to that shopper, where they are at that particular point in time, and knowing that by giving them all of this information in an intelligent fashion, you're going to give them a highly motivated reason to go into a store. So next slide, please. Why is this information important? Well, this is really interesting data that we found in some interviews that we've done and other surveys that we found in looking at other sources of what shoppers care about when they're thinking about going into a particular store. And you can see here there's a great list of a lot of information that's essential for them to understand and be presented that is going to have a factor and an impact on them making those decisions around, is it the right move for me to drive somewhere rather than order online? And all of this comes into play in the way that the campaign is put together. So this idea of understanding the context of this shopper, the way that you're presenting information, has a play in what we call our product intelligence. So if we move on to the next slide, we believe that basically it's all about this deep understanding of the state of a product and where it is. And so why is this important? So it's interesting, in the experiences that we have with our clients, we're often surprised how many times when we scope out a campaign to start that there is not enough understanding of where the products are in inventory in the particular stores and locations in which they want to run a campaign. That puts them in great danger of driving people in the course of a campaign into a location in which they're not going to find the product that is being promoted. And this is disastrous on multiple levels. So what could happen? There's a myriad of things that could. One, they could buy the item at another store. That's bad for the retailer, and it's bad for the brand as well. They could stay in that store but buy a substitute brand of some sort. They could decide, well, you know what, I'm just going to walk out. I'm not going to make that purchase. All of these things amount to a really bad scenario for the parties involved in this particular campaign, because once you create that kind of an experience, it's something that is carried with that consumer over the long haul and is really going to have a negative impact on that particular brand or retailer's relationship with that consumer. So why is it then that once we know we have information, the product intelligence and the way it's presented to someone makes a difference? So if we can go to the next slide. So once we know the products are available, it's all about making that experience more relevant, more personalized, which greatly increases the chances for those in-store visits. So how does that happen and how is that rendered? So in the campaign and on the device and how they're experiencing it, it's making sure that you're giving them the information that's relevant to their nearest location and where they reside. That's optimized in terms of the experience. So am I going to send them a banner ad? Is it going to be a push notification? Is it going to be an interstitial? Will there be a specific landing page that gives them more information about the products, its location, how to get there, what are the driving patterns that they could take from where they're located? All of that is used to optimize the entire experience that's ultimately going to drive them into the store where you can measure the foot traffic, you can measure the sales lift on the items that are being promoted. So if we go on to the next slides, and discuss, so how does this benefit everyone in the value chain, the brands, the retailers, and the consumers themselves? Well, first of all, it really helps in the optimization of the campaign itself. You will know, for example, do I do ad buys in certain regions or not because the products are available? Do I have to make some changes in my inventory and distribution to ensure that we have the right products at the right place at the right time? That makes a huge impact in terms of savings on the spend for that advertising for the retailer or the brand doing the promotion. Obviously, sending someone into the right store at the right time doesn't mean just that one purchase. It could mean follow-on purchases as well because of the experience being so beneficial. And obviously then having more relevancy of information to them, you could add on other offers that are adjacent to or related to that particular product. Maybe they're buying something in a grocery store and it's an ingredient, and that ingredient can be combined with other ingredients to make a particular dish. So those are all things that can kind of be synergistic and work together for that contextualization. And in the end, it's all about that better engagement for that consumer with those localized offers. So what does that all mean? Ultimately, it's all about, does the campaign move the needle on driving more shoppers into the store and selling more products? We believe that with a strong foundation of this product intelligence and contextualized interactions with shoppers, you can measure a campaign's effectiveness well beyond traditional measures such as impressions and click-through rates. You can really look at the true sales lift. How many more units did we move in a particular store or location? How much more revenue did we drive? What foot traffic did we increase in those particular regions? And that can all be fine-tuned on an on-the-go basis so that you're able to do course correction on the campaigns when you're seeing more receptiveness in a particular region, so you can place more promotions in that one and then throttle back in other areas. So ultimately, you're finding that the campaign is really delivering very tangible, measurable financial ROI that you can bring back to the retailer or the brand. And that's essentially what we're all looking for and what we're looking to deliver. So let's give an example of how that worked for ShopAdvisor and one of our clients. So we worked with this was last late fall, early winter. We worked with a major consumer electronics manufacturer whose name rhymes with Taco Bell, to help them with the launch of a couple of new laptops in the Midwest part of the United States across 183 different retail locations. So it was several things. We wanted to build awareness. We wanted to drive people from their online experiences into those select brick and mortar locations. We wanted to collect all of the behavior that happened in those locations and then be able to measure the impact of the campaign. So what did we do as part of it? We helped them and the agency partners in creating the custom-rich media mobile experience that they were engaging with. We implemented what we call the ShopAdvisor API, which is basically the means by which we deliver all of the contextualized product information and location-related information, etc., to that experience on the phone to make sure that we're engaging people correctly and smartly, whether that was a banner ad in this one, which was a particular area of focus, or other types of engagement mechanisms such as email or landing experiences. And so what did we ultimately deliver for the client? We think it was pretty impressive, and they continue to be a return client for us. So it was a several-week campaign. We delivered over 9 million impressions across these 183 retail locations. We drove more than 20,000 incremental visits to those retailers over comparable times on, around prior test frames, as well as test and control stores. From that, we saw a 42% lift on the sales of those units in the stores in which the campaigns were running versus stores in which they were not. And we also found that the consumers themselves were 4 times more likely to make the purchase once they were in the store than making a click to purchase online. And that was a really revelatory type of result, because it was really important for this company and the manufacturer, because they want to have a much stronger brick and mortar type of business that is in companion to their online business. And the other thing that we found that really helped the retailer side was optimizing how much inventory they held. So making sure that they had just the right amount to meet the customer demand, but not so much that they were carrying too much from a cost standpoint. So all in all, it was a really highly successful campaign. So I've talked a lot about the critical importance of product intelligence and enabling that for providing a great experience. And the reason that we think it's great to be talking today with Augment and talking about what they deliver to the marketplace is, we're all about the experience around the product and making sure that people are engaged with it and that it's going to be highly motivational for them. And it's a natural extension that we see in the types of campaigns that we're enabling to add that augmented reality function and capability to the experience. For us, we think it's a brave new world. We envision that it's the kind of thing that not only people want to experience on their phones, but they'll want to experience it in the physical retail locations as well. And so we think it's a huge opportunity for retailers to kind of really set themselves apart from a thought leadership standpoint, from an innovation standpoint, and really get those kind of leading edge people that are consumers out there talking about their experiences and how they engage with that particular brand and product as a result of that augmented reality. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Angela to talk a little bit about how that all happens.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bill. Yes, that's a great transition, and to talk about augmented reality and how it brings tangibility to products online. Bill was talking about the actual product intelligence itself, and we're going to be talking about the context, visual context specifically, and the augmented reality landscape, and how creating a physical presence is key. So at Augment, we're focused on this other kind of context, right? Specifically, a visual context through augmented reality. So in addition to creating a tangible physical presence for consumers, I'll be talking about using visual context for marketing and creating that seamless shopper experience. So first off, I just want to give a brief definition of augmented reality so we're all on the same page. So the simple definition here is it's a technology that layers digital information over what we see around us in the real world in real time. So you still have your live view of a physical real world environment where digital information like computer graphics is superimposed on top. So then as a result, what this technology does is it is enhancing our perception of reality, really, because it's merging what's real, so your physical environment, with what is not real. And in this case, I'll be talking about 3D computer graphics, or you could say 3D models or 3D scans, and that you would be seeing this through a mobile device. In the future, headsets are, of course, being worked on contact glasses, but what we're talking about right now are mobile devices. So I'd love to see a raise of hands on the GoToWebinar control panel if you are familiar with augmented reality in the context of either Pokemon Go or Snapchat, geofilters, world lenses. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of hands raised here. Yes. Okay, great. Okay, so we're all on the same page there. And also, most recently, last week at Facebook's F8 Developer Conference, they announced that they're actually going to be opening up a new, they're calling it Camera Effects platform for developers to create AR experiences within their social media network. And then something else I'll mention briefly here is that hardware is getting more and more advanced. So we're seeing these depth sensors that are really room mapping technology, and they're able to understand the space around you, map out your surroundings. This is a large part of this is due to Google Tango, and it's already in phones like the Zen phone or Lenovo Fab 2, and more phones will have this technology, and it will just be common, like mobile devices in general today. There are a lot of rumors out there around what Apple's going to be doing. So all this to say is that AR, and actually I'll just show you this quick video here. This is just showing what a mobile device is able to do that has that depth sensor. It's actually mapping out the space in real time so that you can layer or put these objects on top. So AR it's really not something that's going to be a nice to have. It's becoming a necessity now. So here you see some quotes from Fortune, CIO, CNET, and you see that even the CEO, like I said, of Apple is saying that AR will rival the impact of the iPhone. So it's exciting because it's will become that next frontier for competitive advantage. Okay, so what is possible with AR and retail? How does this all fit in? Well, as Bill said, since 73% of customers are using multiple channels during their shopper journey, we need to be creating these seamless experiences, right, where there's a physical presence of a product, whether the shopper is in store or at home, then maybe they'll go in store on the go. It really doesn't matter. So the primary drawback right now to online and mobile shopping is that the visual aspects are a lot less clear than in store. So for instance, you can't really get a sense of the material or texture when it's either a static photo or even if it's a video. And many of the sensory experiences or elements that a customer uses to make their decision, it's just lost when it comes to e-commerce. It's also difficult to compare products visually to see side by side. Usually it's just a list of features or maybe small thumbnail images or something that you can zoom into. And of course there's that loss of interactivity and presence, which leads to uncertainty. And when there's uncertainty, that of course leads to abandoned shopping carts, maybe not even going in store if that's an option, and return items. Because they don't know what's expected, or when they do get it, it doesn't fit well in their space. So then the question is, how do you remove the uncertainty online? How do you create confident customers? So if, for instance, the product isn't available in store or they can't go in store, how can we make them confident so they know and understand what they're getting? And this is where innovation in product visualization is needed and where we're seeing some really exciting results with AR. So for instance, with an AR-powered app, a shopper can select furniture pieces or appliances, like this washing machine, for example, that they're considering, and then see how these items will look and how they'll fit in their home, again, through a mobile device's camera. So the AR app enables the customer to see that potential purchase in real time, at scale, exactly how it will fit before making the decision. When we take a look at how this AR product visualization is creating these powerful experiences, we're seeing it immediately making an impact in these three areas. So you see here I just did view at home, and that's really all that a consumer needs to do. So first, it's creating an engaging experience, again, with that physical presence, and we're essentially replicating that in-store shopping capability. So if the product isn't available in store, we can recreate that tangible feeling. And as a marketer, you're able to use the visual context specifically of the person surrounding, which of course, that is the ultimate personalization, and it keeps shoppers engaged. We're finding that they're spending more time browsing on an online store and interacting with the products. And while shopping online, a customer, if you think about it, they have to imagine and interpret what an item would feel like in their hands or look like in their home. But with this technology, it overcomes a lot of those challenges, and it's transforming that, the imagination into reality. That shoppers in the driver's seat, they're not only zooming in and out of an image, but they're able to see up close, like that product is actually there. And so the second way we're seeing AR making an impact on that shopper journey is by allowing them to make modifications, customizations, again, in visual context, which makes all the difference. So before making that decision, customers, of course, want to see different color options that are available or modifications. And in the past, those customization options have been hard to convey with photos, or it requires a lot of photos. And AR and these computer graphics makes it really easy for consumers to just explore all their options and make those personalized modifications while they're shopping online, literally in their own space. And then here, the third way that we're seeing AR making an impact is by allowing customers to visualize or really understand how products and features work. So if you think about it, both online and in-store, consumers, they want to interact with the product, right? They want to get a feel of how it works before they head to the checkout, and AR allows them to do just that. And the way that they're able to do that is through animations. And through those animations, a consumer can just touch on a part of a product, like this washing machine here, and not just see how it opens, but it's important to see, is this actually going to fit in my space when I open the door? So simple things like that. But also you could have animations of products coming apart or opening or closing so you can see the elements. And in addition to then merging that digital element with physical in-store products, it's also stimulating engagement on the sales floor too, which Bill alluded to. This isn't just at home, but it is used in store too. So brands are enabling these AR images on outside of packaging, for instance, and Lego is a popular example there. Shoppers can just scan the product packaging with their mobile device, and they see and they can understand what is offered inside without, having to tear up the box or speculate. And then aside from scannable packaging, there are AR-powered kiosks, of course, but what we're finding is really powerful is to equip sales associates with augmented reality enabled devices that they can then have essentially an endless aisle of products on the mobile device so that consumers can see products side by side, products that are actually there, and compare. So as I just mentioned about using AR to modify and customize selections, in a Damon interaction study, they found that 77% of shoppers want to use AR to see product differences, such as that change in color or style. You'll also see here that 71% of shoppers would shop at a retailer more often if they offered AR. And I thought this was interesting. 40% would be willing to pay more for a product if they could experience it in AR. So now that I've talked about different ways that augmented reality is enhancing the shopper journey, I want you to see it for yourself. So this is just a 1-minute video here, but it's showing how shoppers could use an AR-powered app to view a retailer's products. And you see here, you literally just launch it from a product page, whether it's in-app or on a mobile website through a device. They can launch the product and just intuitively, they move it with one finger. You can also tap different parts of the product to see the functionality, like I said, to change colors. You saw 2 products side by side that you can compare. So I'm sure you can imagine how powerful this tool is, that when someone's able to launch products in their space and see them side by side, what this does. And here you just see some of the animations that I was talking about. These are just some simple examples, but you can imagine what you can do. Here's the color changes. Okay, so now you might be wondering how this actually works. How is it integrated into a retailer's e-commerce platform, whether that's a mobile device or a website? So I just want to give you a quick example of what we do at Augment. Augment has an SDK that allows retailers to leverage AR into their own existing platforms. So we have a software development kit that makes it simple for a mobile web apps team or an e-commerce website team to then integrate this into their own platforms. So for a mobile app integration, the team would just enter some simple code into their existing app. So then when a customer taps the AR button within the app, the camera function automatically activates within their app, and the 3D model is launched in the real world environment. And with the SDK, it also offers different tools, a 3D view, so you can see the model not necessarily in the context, but if you wanted to see it up close with just a plain background, or if you wanted to freeze the background, so you could essentially take your home in store with you and then test products that you see in store that are available. You can see them in your space. You can take a photo of the product and then either send it to a friend, a family member, or on social media, which definitely creates that viral activity. So there's a lot that the SDK can do, and it's really up to the retailer's team to decide, what functionality do we want to add to this AR experience. And then I'll also mention there's also a desktop website integration, right? So we're seeing consumers across all devices, whether they're mobile or a desktop. So when a customer clicks the AR button on a desktop, they can either just enter their phone number so that the 3D model is actually texted to them on their mobile device, or they can just scan a QR code that they see on screen. So there's a lot of different ways that you can integrate this. But I will say what makes it so unique is that we are currently the only provider that allows retailers to embed this technology into their existing apps. Okay, and I just want to talk also briefly about Augment's 3D Commerce Hub, because 3D product content is becoming very, very important. As you can imagine, all these AR experiences and virtual reality experiences, which I haven't even mentioned yet, this 3D content is really important. So what also sets Augment apart from other AR solutions is that it provides not only that AR capability and the SDK, but the 3D content as well. So we work with brands around the world, and we're creating the largest, actually, 3D product model database that's available that then syndicates to retailers. So then retailers aren't having to create their own 3D models and source this content, but they're able to automatically and directly pull from this 3D Commerce Hub from the SDK. And then I'll just mention one of our case studies. So Cdiscount, if you're not familiar with them, they are in France, and they are the largest e-commerce marketplace behind Amazon, honestly, in France. They're using the Augment SDK in their mobile application, so customers can see products like kitchen appliances or electronics in augmented reality. And we're seeing that retailers like Cdiscount also want to use AR specifically to add more value to their mobile application as part of that omni-channel shopper journey, with, of course, the goals of increasing sales and reducing returns, but definitely to get more users engaged in their app where their customers already are. And we're also working with companies that use Augment both online and in store, like I mentioned before, having tablets that have that AR capability. And then finally, I just want to talk about some ROI, because of course we're all really interested in that. We want to know what is our return on investment. So we are seeing up to 85% lift in conversions with AR versus not. We're seeing 300% more time spent viewing a product, again, keeping people engaged with the products in their own space and context, and then a 20% reduction in returns, because people are able to see what this is actually going to look like in my space, if it will fit, does this make sense? So I hope this has been helpful for you to just understand some ways that AR is creating that seamless shopper journey, whether that be online or offline. And I hope you see that as this relationship between AR and retail continues to mature, we're going to be seeing AR making an impact, but again, that 3D product content being really important in the future. So now as we wrap up, Bill, I would love for you to just take those two first points and talk about some key takeaways from this presentation.
Well, I think that if you take the totality of what we've discussed here today and you step back and kind of try to look at it from a higher level, I think the message is that, thinking differently about the way products are presented to consumers and done in a way that is more so contextualized that they feel it is a personal experience for them. And that is really what it's all about, is how we as service providers, and whether you're an agency, a retailer, or a brand, how are you creating that experience in a way that's going to make you stand out by your leveraging of these types of technologies? Because it really redefines the product experience for them and is going to make them much more inclined to not just buy the products, but become more loyal, become a brand ambassador, all of those things. So we think that it creates these better customer engagements ultimately. It also then is great from a learning standpoint that allows you to say, okay, what did we get out of these campaigns? How did we learn from these? How do we take these best practices? And how do we have a virtual kind of like continuous improvement loop mechanism of learning from those and always being able to be facile enough, and agile enough to be adapting our campaigns so that they're maximizing their return for everyone. So those are some of the couple of things that I think are really important to be taking away from this conversation today.
Absolutely. I could not have said it better myself. I think that really encapsulates what this is all about and what we're seeing in now, not just in the future, but now with mobile innovation and contextual intelligence. At this point, I would love to turn it over to all of you, everyone listening, and just do some question and answer. So what questions do you have for myself or Bill, anything that we can help you with? Okay, so the first question here is, can anyone use the Augment SDKs and build their own AR apps? So the Augment SDK is specifically geared towards the retail community, so retailers and manufacturers. And that's what I was alluding to with the 3D product, the 3D Commerce Hub. So we work with brands to create product models that are exact, essentially replicas of their products that they have. So the SDK specifically is for the retail community, and more so than that for existing platforms. So it's just a matter of adding some code. You don't have to create a new app from scratch. And what we're seeing is that retailers don't want to have yet another app where their customers aren't already, and it divides that audience. So yeah, specifically for the retail community. Someone is asking about the process of 3D models, the creation of the 3D models, and what that's like. If they're just images that they have, can they be produced? So Augment has a wonderful team here and network that we work with to create those 3D models. And yes, it is definitely possible if there are only images and dimensions and specs for the models or for the products themselves. We are able to create them just with that information. But something I will mention is a lot of teams aren't aware that they do have the 3D models. It may just be a stripped down version of it or almost like a wireframe, but it is a great starting point. And we have a great team of researchers that are finding faster and faster ways to create these 3D models, because as you can imagine, retailers have a lot of products, as do brands. So it is definitely something that we work on to get faster and faster, but yes, we can do it with just images and specs. And in terms of the quality of models, it really depends on the product itself. If it's something that has a lot of texture or the material is really important, you will see the, I guess you could say almost HD quality of those models being more important, but there definitely is a variety or range of realism that there can be that you'll see with 3D models. Okay, Bill, this question is for you. Someone did their research and sees that your ShopAdvisor is a connected partner with Nielsen. How are you leveraging their data?
So the Nielsen Connected Partner Program was launched last November, and there's really kind of two ways of looking at the Nielsen data. There's data that's related to the product availability, and we're talking about millions and millions and millions of CPG products across hundreds of thousands of retail locations. Think about your grocery store chains, your convenience store chains, all of that kind of information. So that they are one of our partners and one of our means that we ingest product availability information into our platform. What they also provide is also last sale POS data. So what we're able to do through that connected partner program is when we put together a campaign and we're looking at particular types of products that maybe we're promoting, maybe it's a soft drink in particular, regional supermarkets, et cetera, we can look at, obviously through Nielsen's connected partner program, not just help us with the inventory and location and all that, but then after the campaign is run, be able to pull the data that's related to units moved, volume, foot traffic, all of that to help us create the sales lift analysis that I've talked about. And the Nielsen program is a very strategic program for Nielsen. They actually just spoke about it this week on their earnings call as an area of major investment and growth for them in the future.
Wonderful. Okay, thanks, Bill. Okay, I think we have time for just two more questions. This one I will take. The question is, has Augment done any work for CPG, so consumer packaged goods, box cereals, snack shampoo, etc.? So if you think about it, people don't necessarily need to see those type of items up close and personal as if they were there, although they can if they want to. But we have definitely worked in that space, and we do work in that space. Coca-Cola is one of our larger clients there, and the way that they're using it is their sales team uses Augment in store. So they have their tablets with AR capabilities on it, and they're able to show the store manager exactly where and how a new display case, for instance, would fit, or a new display. And they're able to then upsell different displays and products that they have. And again, then they're able to take a photo, and it really helps with compliance because the store manager knows exactly where and how this display is supposed to look, how it's supposed to be configured, and everybody is on the same page there. So that's the way that we have worked in the CPG space. And now we'll just take one more question, and I apologize we didn't get to all of those, but feel free to reach out to either ShopAdvisor or Augment to get those other questions asked and answered. So the last question, Bill, I'll let you take this. How does ShopAdvisor track store visits and sales?
So the way that, well, I talked about the sales lift element in terms of the example I just gave of working with Nielsen and getting the kind of the unit information. What we also do is we often party with a third partner, for instance, a company called Ninth Decimal, that we work with for tracking basically foot traffic in the stores where the campaigns are being conducted. We have another company that we've partnered with called Mobi, which is an interesting company that actually works with consumers, and consumers get what they call Mobi assignments, where they go to particular stores where the campaigns are being executed, and they go in and they record the experience that they've had in terms of finding the particular product. Was it easy to find? How did it display? Take pictures of it, and obviously capture their activity going into those stores as well. So that's kind of like on the front end of the side of the kind of foot traffic idea, and then a Ninth Decimal's on the back end side of that, and being able to in campaign trace all of that, and that gets integrated into the type of information that we collect that I cited in terms of as an example of working with Nielsen, but we do it on our own as well. It doesn't have to be just Nielsen related data. So that's kind of how the foot traffic element works.
Wonderful. Yes, that is perfect. So with that, we are going to wrap up. I just want to remind everyone we recorded a session and we'll send it to you within 24 hours. And again, just thank you all for listening. We hope this has been helpful. and have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are. So thank you, Bill, again for being on this webinar too. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Angela. I appreciate it, and thanks everyone for your time.
All right, bye. Until next time.
Bye.